Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, parents, students, families, and friends of the class of 2021. Tonight we gather to mark the transition from middle to high school. This is a time of year when I imagine our 8th graders' futures. Even though I am aware that we can't foresee what lies just ahead, there is a mystery and unpredictability in the way our potential unfolds throughout our lives. Years ago, I apprenticed for a time under a developmental and behavioral pediatrician who specializes in autism. The pediatrician's name is Rick Solomon, and he offered me a job as a home consultant, a therapeutic coach and trainer who meets with families in their homes. The play-based intervention I taught parents served to help stretch their children up the developmental ladder, so that in time with many hours spent purposefully engaging their children in imaginative play, following their children's lead, encouraging their children to recognize and make sense of their own and others' emotions, these kids learn to find meaning and joy in our world, a world that plays by seemingly elusive and impermanent rules. I owe my clients' parents an enormous debt for sharing their most vulnerable selves with me. I learned much about the healing power of compassion. Early in my experience as a home consultant, I met with a 2.5-year-old child who I will call Sam. Sam had a twin brother who was typically developing, and as the two brothers reached 4 months, then 8, then 1 year, their parents could see that Sam was not progressing as quickly as his brother. They learned eventually that Sam had Fragile X syndrome, a condition that stems from abnormalities on the X chromosome. Children with Fragile X often experience developmental and cognitive disabilities. Sam's parents also learned that Sam had autism, that his vision was poor, and that he was mostly deaf. By the time I met him, Sam had received cochlear implants, devices that helped his inner ear work a little better. Sam's father was a businessman. He was tall, sturdily built, and likable guy, the sort of person who, right away, puts others at ease. One afternoon, while his son, Sam, sat on his lap, he said this to me: "Jonathan, I'm so glad you're here to do this work with us. This is exactly what Sam needs right now to help him get ready for what's next. I know he will face challenges other kids won't, but I know in my heart that he will be able to have every opportunity I've had. There isn't anything he won't be able to do." I worried about this father's unrealistic expectations for his son, who seemed at once to be there and not there, limited as he was by conditions that seemed to me to be insurmountable. The next day I met with Rick, my mentor, and I asked him how to begin to reset Sam's dad's expectations. "What do you mean?" he asked me. "Isn't it my job to give him a more realistic idea of what his child may and may not be able to do in time?" I said. Rick surprised me with his answer. "Absolutely not," he said. "The world will show them what their son can and can't handle. It's not your job to correct them. We should encourage all positive thoughts and feelings parents have for their children." As soon as he said this, I knew that he was right, and I was relieved that he'd saved me from saying something hurtful and ill-conceived to Sam's parents. Rick continued, "The goal of what we do is help children reach their full potential, and we don't yet know what that potential is. There's no good reason to negate the hopes of parents because we don't yet know what the child is capable of, which is not to say that we give parents false hope, but that we leave things open-ended. Whenever we can, we greet the wishes of the parents to help their children fulfill every capacity they will eventually have." And this idea of potential brings me to 2 tales of 2 people from my own past. The first is a guy I will call Q. Q and I went to college together. He was in an improv comedy troupe called Gag Reflex. He founded several sketch comedy groups, and he wrote a weekly satire page for the Wesleyan Argus, our college newspaper. Q was, without question, one of the single funniest and theatrically gifted people I had ever seen take the stage. He was a preternaturally quick processor who could figure out a way to make any scene funny. He had a gift for voices and invented characters. His physical humor was nothing short of glorious. When he performed, college students and professors alike would be breathless from laughing. Throughout college, we would talk frequently about how famous Q would become one day. We had all watched Saturday Night Live and Living Color, Fawlty Towers, and Monty Python. We had seen some of NYC's best stand-up, and we'd been to Second City in Chicago. Q was funnier than the pros, just a bit his senior. We couldn't wait to see Q join them. And yet, Q was an inveterate procrastinator, and his work ethic was not sound. In college, he often missed paper deadlines, contest deadlines, and he was late for auditions. After college, he moved to Los Angeles, where he had trouble finding a way into the vast competitive space in which he was one of many talented people looking to make it big. To date, he had gotten by on his talent, and now, suddenly, his talent wasn't enough. He landed a gig as an assistant for a Hollywood agent. Eventually, the agent grew weary of his unreliability and fired him. Q went to auditions and was turned down each time. After a few years spent waiting tables and hoping for a break, he became enervated by rejection and returned home to New Jersey, where he got a job at a local retail establishment. I Googled Q recently to see what I would find, and I was shocked when absolutely nothing came up. According to the internet, Q does not exist. Not on Facebook, not in periodicals, not in blogs, nowhere. Alarmed, I called a mutual friend to ask if he knew anything about Q. And he assured me that yes, he's fine, still in New Jersey, living a quiet life in his hometown. For all I know, he is fulfilled there. And yet, it is likely that he is not inhabiting the life he once envisioned 2 decades ago, when, with a few minutes on stage, he could take complete control of an adoring crowd. The second person is a guy I will call L. L was a couple of years younger than I, and he was a theater major with many of my closest friends and several of my housemates. With them, he was part of Second Stage, Wesleyan student-run theater company, which put out 3 or 4 new shows each month. At the time, it was the largest student-run theater company in North America. In any case, I always liked L. I didn't know him well, but I would see him often, and he was someone I was always happy to run into. He was earnest and upbeat and uncommonly affable. While in conversation with him, I was often struck by his total lack of hubris. Some theater and film majors walked and talked as though they were already famous, but L never did that. When he was a sophomore, L produced a musical he had written that took place in Washington Heights in Upper Manhattan. I went to the show and thought it was good, and I was impressed. L had written it himself. Friends of mine, likewise impressed and proud of L, thought the show was good, but not great. Though it's impossible to know for sure, I suspect that if you would have asked L's first audience who would have more success in the field, Q or L, my guess is that many would have said Q. So unshakable was our faith in his capacities. And yet, over the next 6 years, L took that play through 5 revisions, and the show that was good became great. Not long after he debuted it again in the mid-2000s, In the Heights won several Tony Awards. Several more years on, L read a biography of a famous colonial American, and moved by the story, he began writing songs, and these songs eventually became Hamilton, the Broadway musical that has taken hold of our nation. It should be obvious by now that L is Lin-Manuel Miranda, the first Broadway star in many years to become a household name, and even in his own way, a kind of phenomenon. And just by the way, for those of you who may be wondering or were thinking about asking me later this evening, I do not know Lin well enough to ask him for Hamilton tickets. I haven't spoken to him in 17 years, and it would be very, very strange if I were to call him up or send him a note with ticket requests for his Ann Arbor fans. If you were to ask him if he remembers Jonathan Schwartz, he may disappoint you by saying, "Do you mean John Bermuda Schwartz, Weird Al Yankovic's drummer?" Because if memory serves, Lin is, or at least he was, a Weird Al fan. To return to the idea of potential, I don't mean to suggest that in order to fulfill your potential, you should pursue a career in the arts, or that fame and success should be equated. I only mean to suggest that Lin, for all the best reasons, seems to have a good chance of fulfilling his potential. Q, who fell prey to the common misfortunes and personal flaws that plague many of us, likely does not. And Sam, my former client, deserves to fulfill his potential for developing meaning and joy in relationships with those who love him. Sam's potential may be different from yours or mine, and that is just how it is. That's not a statement of value, but an understanding of the profound and enduring differences among us. Your stories, 8th grade, are not yet written. It's common practice for young people to predict what will happen to their peers, but the truth is that it's impossible for any of us to know what will come to pass. In the meantime, you are here at Green Hills, in part to have access to a first-rate education and to be a part of the supportive community. Between now and indefinitely, we offer you our hope, and we offer you the knowledge that helping you reach your own potential is a community effort. Some of the work comes from your family, some from us, your teachers, some from your peers, and some from you. We are in this thing with you, my friends, and we look forward to hearing from you years from now when you stop by to tell us all the things you have done that we never could have imagined. Please join me in giving our students a round of applause.
Hello, my name is Arjun, and I am honored to speak on behalf of the students here at Green Hills. This is an important event for us, and in many ways, it is a milestone not only for the students, but also our parents and teachers. I know many of you parents are wondering how it came to this. You probably remember dropping these kids off at kindergarten just yesterday. Unless you're my parents, of course, we're probably counting down the days until I leave for college. And for the teachers, they can probably remember us walking through those doors only a few years ago. They've witnessed us maturing into critical thinkers and better students. This is a testament to their incredible dedication and teaching skills. We were young, excited 6th and 7th graders, filled with vigor, and now look at us. Through our time spent at Green Hills, we learned so much and filled our minds with knowledge. Life, death, love, fear, passion, hate, and friendship. These are important elements of human existence, and in fact, these are the profound abstractions that we saw and learned about at Green Hills. We learned about life and death through reading books such as Romeo and Juliet. We were given knowledge through learning from and listening to our teachers. Fear was aroused by tests and exams. We felt passionate about the extracurriculars, sports, and the arts we engaged in. We hated hearing news about intolerance. And there was friendship through the unbreakable bonds we made with our classmates and peers. But why do these matter? How do these philosophical constructs affect our young lives? It is that in a student-centered community like ours, these fundamentals define who we are. They shape the inquisitive minds that we have. They form our legacy and our future. And through learning about these defining elements of human life at Green Hills, we became curious, creative, and responsible citizens whose meaningful and balanced lives would better the world. However, this is not what brings us together, what unites us as a class. When I first walked the hallways of Green Hills, I saw a spectrum of students. Athletic kids, thespians, forensic speakers, robotics computer coders, nerds, Michigan and Ohio State fans, kids who ordered pizza during class. And the question was, how did all these different voices harmonize? What defined our grade? Some might say it is the intellect and insight in the student body that makes us who we are. The hard work, determination, and conviction put into every exam study, sports game, music concert, or forensics and robotics meet. But no, that's not what makes us the Green Hills class of 2017. What makes us truly stand out as a grade, what makes us a class, what makes us unified and come together are the relationships we make with one another. At Green Hills, we've all got to know one another and care for each other. In fact, by getting to know such an intelligent class, through all the conversations and discussions I've had with every person in the grade, I personally believe all of you have qualities that will make the world a better place. All of us have aspirations, hopes, and dreams, and we all strive to better the world. But before we can talk more about the future, we first must acknowledge the support given to us from our teachers. To the esteemed teachers, faculty, and administration at Green Hills, you have all guided us through this maze called middle school, where you have taught us how to learn, and not what to think, but how to think. You have shaped us into critical and analytical thinkers who find joy and passion in wanting to learn. You are the reason the school is where it is today. So to you, we say thank you. To our parents, who have given us the opportunity of going to Green Hills. You've been there for our sports games, forensics and robotics practice, and you are here now, at this important milestone in our lives. We also thank our extended family, grandparents, siblings, and friends who have supported us as well. So to you all, we say thank you. And to the class of 2017, I must say that we did it. We have finally graduated, or we will, hopefully, if we play our cards right for like the next 10 minutes. And we will start a new and exciting chapter in our lives. Thinking about the time we spent at Green Hills, one word comes to mind: awesome. For me, this word is probably used way too much, but it stirs up great passion and emotion. Someone that is awesome is extremely impressive, excellent, or someone that defines greatness. But being great, being awesome, doesn't mean you have to get an A+ on every test. It doesn't mean you have to be the most popular kid in the class. It doesn't mean you have to be LeBron James dunking. Greatness comes from small acts of kindness. It comes from sitting next to a person sitting alone at lunch. It comes from being open to interacting with new people. It comes from leaving a person with a little more hope than they had before. You know, Steve Jobs once stated, "The ones who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." All of us have that craziness in us, and all of us can change the world. I truly believe in this class we have future professors, engineers, astronauts, doctors. Yes, I'm talking to the Indian kids. Famous musicians and artists, CEOs, FIFA World Cup champions, professional NBA players. No, I am not talking to you Indian kids. Supreme Court justices, and maybe even the President of the United States. And in 30 years at our reunion, you'll be looking back at your middle school experience and be saying, "Wow, that was awesome." Thank you.